1 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 27. You might want to go there and read. I want us all to see it. 1 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 27. Are you there? It says, now ye are the body of Christ. You. Now ye are the body of Christ, and members in particular. So in other words, what he's saying there is that we are all the body of Christ, and each one is a specific member of that body. Are we good? So I want you to say after me, I am a member of his body. So God is specific with you as to your place in the body. We are going to use the human body as a good analogy to draw parallels of how the local church should operate. So when you see a human person, what you are seeing is the structure of the body, right? You see a structure. The physical frame of the human person is what you see. So I want you to notice that, the structure. That structure that you see as the human body has operating within it systems. We have the digestive system. We have the respiratory system. I believe the human body has about 9 systems functional. We have the excretory system. We have the reproductive system. We have the circulatory system. We have the nervous system. And any other that you can remember. But your first contact to the body is the structure you are seeing. The physical frame made up of bones, muscles, all the physical things you see, that's the structure. Take note of that, the structure. And number 2 now, within it are systems. These systems, they work together to keep the body healthy and growing. If you have problem with any of the system or any of the systems, or each one of them, any one system in the body, if you have a problem there, it would affect the operation of the entire body. If your circulatory system has problem, there's a specialized vessel that takes blood from the heart to all other parts of the body. And there's a specialized vessel that takes blood from the other parts of the body back to the heart. And the heart carries certain things called hemoglobins. And they are energy-giving substance. You know, when somebody is running short of blood, you know what will happen to them? If it's your respiratory system that has problem, and you're gasping for breath, for one reason or the other, it would affect the others. If it is your excretory system, there are people praying to pass out substance from their body. That's a prayer. Because they can ingest digest, but they can't excrete. If your nervous system has problem, of course, you know that's paralysis, when you can't feel. We are all members of his body. And the Bible lets us know in Romans chapter 1 that we can draw parallel between the spiritual and the physical. The invisible things of him from the creation of this world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made. So God, even his eternal power and Godhead, he will reveal to us by the equivalence of the material. So when you see a structure of a human person, within that structure are systems. Those systems are interconnected organs carrying out one major function. So if you put a food through your mouth, it goes through your esophagus, it gets down, the food does not take another journey to your heart. The organs that are related to ensure you ingest, digest, and excrete, they are all aligned together. The large intestine, the small intestine, the colon for excretion. That's the plumbing pipe to get rid of the nonsense. If you have problem with any of this organ, you can call for a surgical intervention. So here you see, there's a structure of the body. There are systems functioning within that structure. And there are organs aligned to ensure those specialized functions are being carried out the same way every time. Lessons to learn. They don't get creative. They don't want it another way. Say, you know what? Arteries, you've been taking blood from the heart to the body system for a very long time. You should be bored by now. Maybe we should try a nerve to carry blood. Because monotony leads to boredom. Let's get creative. They don't do that. Otherwise, you'll be sleeping somewhere in the morgue. These organs of the body, they are made up of tissues. And each tissue is made up of cells. So the cell is the smallest functional unit of the body. So I'll take it with you again. The human body has structures. What are structures? Framework. The physical frame of the body, the structure. And there are systems functioning in the body. The systems are interrelated processes, specialized processes. And the systems are carried out by organs. And these organs are made up of tissues. And these tissues are made up of cells. 5 levels of life in the body. The same way we have the church structure. First, the church structure is that administrative framework called an organogram. And you can apply this to your business or anything. It gives it a frame. A church that lacks structure cannot stand. Why? It's like a human without a skeletal frame. Can you imagine that? That person would be a heap of meat. You cannot move without structure. A business without a structure is disorganized. Not everybody understands the structure of the church. The church has a standard structure. This is the bridge church. So like you have a human person, you have the head of the structure. Every structure must have a head. The pastorate. And then underneath that, you have the directorates. And then underneath that, you have the coordinators. I'm talking about our structure. And then you have team heads. Where do you have the vision in the human structure? In the head. When the legs start seeing, there's a problem. When the heart refuses that I'm tired of pumping, nobody's seeing me. They see your face well decorated and they say your pretty face. Nobody says heart good. And I want to be seen. The heart that wants to be seen is defying the placement or its placement in the body. That's the structure. Next to that is the systems. When you come to the systems of the church has two types of systems. One is the system that is based on the ministry functions. And number two is a system that's based on the administration function. So it is ministry and administration. So let me focus on the ministry functions. The Church of Christ has one purpose alone. The reconciliation of the world back to God through Jesus Christ. And the development of these believers to maturity so they can fulfill the mandate of dominion that they had before the fall of Adam. This is the purpose of the church. So the church has a mission. Reconcile the world, build them to maturity, send them out, to bring others into the body, but the essence of being in the body is to fulfill the original purpose of dominion. Not to go to heaven. We don't have a mission of escaping. Most people don't know that when the rapture takes place, it's for 7 years, the believers are coming back. So it's typically vacation. People don't prepare to be effective in the earth here, they're trying to escape. So the church must develop systems along the functions of the church, both ministry functions and administrative functions. Examples of the 5 ministry functions, which are actually the 5 functions of a believer's life. You must have the system for service. That is called the ministry system. To place people in their right position and have them function properly. That is ministry function. And so the church must have a ministry system. The church must therefore have the next function, which is evangelism, sharing the faith, telling others about Jesus. And the church must do so with structures and systems. That is called the mission system. Mission is on an outreach pursuit to reach people and to bring them in. So the church must have its ministry system, which is to serve. It must have its mission system, which is to evangelize. The church must also have these people you have evangelized. The church must have its worship system, which is to magnify the Lord. Remember what I told you about systems. And those who have come to worship with the Lord must be integrated in his body as members, fellowshipping together. It's a function of the church and should be a function of a believer's life. The fellowship system, which ultimately leads to the end of all this process, is to be discipled. The discipleship system. To become like Christ. So go into the world and make disciples of all nations, teaching them to observe whatsoever things I have taught you. And it says, lo, I am with you always, even unto the ends of the age. So, what is the purpose of ministry? Is to be strategic with missions. What is the purpose of missions? Is to bring men to worship. What is the purpose of worship? Is to bring men into fellowship in the body. What is the purpose of fellowship? Is to raise them as disciples, to bring men to the place of total surrender and commitment to the life, the way of Christ. And those who are brought to discipleship, full maturity, are now repositioned in ministry to reach the world again for missions, to bring that world into a place of worship, to integrate them in fellowship and raise them as disciples who go back again through ministry to their mission field. It's a never-ending cycle. So I told you the church has a structure. The structures have systems. These systems are manned by heads we call directorates. So, for example, we have a director of ministry who's responsible for supervising everybody who functions in several places. What? Let me backtrack a bit. Let me talk about structure before I come back to this. What is the pastor's responsibility? It's over the structure. What is a director's responsibility? It's over the systems. A pastor is a shepherd. He should teach, train, and guide the flock. To serve the flock is to serve them the will of God. To teach them the word of God. To train them in this life they have come into. And to guide them in the process. So people say the church is not a business, or the church is not an organization, it's an organism. Fine. As we are organisms, are we organized? Some people say such words to excuse their refusal to be organized. Have you tried your leg on your head before as a proof of your creativity? The body is a community. A local church is a community. It's not an individual. So, the directorates are over systems. So I've told you the 5 systems of the church. I want to focus on the fellowship system. The 5 systems of the church are the mission system. These are ministry system, not administrative system. Administrative system could include finance, venue, all these are administrative. Ministry, shepherding, joining the, look, I'm training you to minister. The equipping of the saint for the work of the ministry. So you are not doing the work of the ministry if you are not involved in the development of a person's life in the faith. How are you as a Christian sharing your faith if you are not sharing it with someone else? How are you in fellowship with the brothers or the brethren if you are not in the fellowship system? How are you being discipled if you don't go through the process of discipleship? So, why people don't participate in the fellowship system? First, anything that is not functional in the human body cell is not in the body. Is that clear? Does that make sense? If you are not in the cell, you are not in the body. Let me bring it up to this church. The fellowship system, participating in the fellowship system is where you transition from being an outsider or from being a visitor to a family. Every congregation is made up of friends and family. And then the families grow to be followers. But every congregation is made up of friends. When you build your house, you build visitors lounge, right? Because you expect visitors. You even build bedroom for visitors because you expect visitors. But they are there for temporary stay. So every church accommodates visitors. You are not looking good as a visitor if you have overstayed your welcome. When the time you have spent in a church does not translate as relationship in the church, something is happening that I want to show you. There are 2 major reasons why people don't participate in the fellowship of a church. Now, these people love the church. Once you see somebody in the church for a very long time, but they refuse to be part of the fellowship of the church, they love the church. That's why they have been there for this long. But there are two major reasons why people don't want to join the local assembly. It says, you are the body of Christ and members in particular. Members in particular. Each one of you a member. Not a visitor in particular. The first major reason that people don't like to join a church or join in the relationships in the church is because of bad experiences they have had from church before that. That's the first reason. There are three types of bad experiences that people have had in church before now. The first has to do with money. The second has to do with sex. The third has to do with power. People who have been members in a local assembly before, but find the undue and unreasonable financial pressure on their lives. Many of them, when they get to a new place, they become cautious. Number one reason, money. These three belong in the first class. I will tell you the other class. Money, right? How many of you have had that experience before you're in a church and there's financial pressure? I've had that. Have you? And sometimes you tell yourself, if I go to a new place, they better have a very long bench behind. So you see people come into a church, they have been pastors before. But when they come this time, they would have this anthem. I want to serve my God peacefully. Money. Number two, sex. Whether we want to face it or not, the people who have been sexually abused in churches. And sometimes it's more painful when the church authority refuses to acknowledge that. You know, you can be sexually abused in a church and you will not be able to say it because it will not be addressed. You may be victimized for even saying it. There are some churches, leaders are not held accountable as Christians. Their positions are protected because of the ministry's ambition at the expense of the individual. The pastors who sexually molest and harass people. Women can tell this story better than me. They have experienced ugly things in churches. And some of those things can make you become careful when you come into a new congregation. You would say, I love God, but I don't understand his children. So you will look at everybody skeptical. Number three, on the A list. Okay? What is the A list? Bad experiences that people have with churches. Number three is pride. When people come to church and their leaders become so empowered they can psychologically oppress you. It's an abuse of power. They talk to people anyhow. You'll see a little girl, she's just one step in the church structure ahead of you. But she has no respect again for somebody who's older than her. And it's coming from the culture, from the leader. Many times people excuse the leader. Let me tell you, whatever is operating in the church is empowered by the leader, whether they are doing it directly or they are acting nice in front of you. Because once those shortcuts produce quick results, they undermine the shortcuts. Churches that emphasize result over character development are bound to abuse people. Because in such churches, the goal is numbers, not Christian maturity. So let's go over the 3 reasons why people don't become members of a church. Number 1, money. Number 2, sex. Number 3, power. Psychological oppression. A grown human being is made to be like a child. Is talked to anyhow. The pastor can carry his Bible. When I was here, I saw one of our ushers carry, are you hearing me? I saw you carry the King Patrick Bible. Don't do that again. It's respectful, but that's how it starts. Pastor Patrick Bible, is he heavy? And I'm sure he never asks for it. And I'm sure your intention is good. But unconsciously, a culture begins. That people are exalted. Leadership becomes an acquisition, the position, not a responsibility. Leadership is not a title. It's a responsibility. The leader should serve. This church, sometimes people don't like the way I treat our leaders because I don't cater to the title. Because some people, once they enter a title, they have found a safe place to be irresponsible. It's not here. So these are the 3 reasons people don't participate in the body. Bad experiences with the church. Now, the B list, the A list is bad experience. The B list is not coming from the church, it's coming from the people. So the way you have clapped before, I hope you clap now. God bless you. The same 3 points. Money, sex, and power. And I'll show you how. Number 1, some people come to a church. How do you know that somebody's problem with not participating in the church fellowship is because of their former experience? How do you know? If they have stayed long enough in a place, observed in that place that financial pressure is not emphasized, observe in that place that sexual abuse is not permitted. Observe in that place that psychological oppression is not permitted, and yet they are not involved. Number 2 is their reason. Are you with me? And it's the same fundamental reason. Number 1, money. People want to learn from a church, but not give to the church. Selfish motives is number 2. Number 1 is bad experience with church. Number 2 is selfish motives. Number 1 problem is coming from the church. Number 2 problem is coming from the individual. And in selfish motive, number 1 reason, just like the number 1 reason in the church problem is churches having undue pressure on people financially, fleecing them. The number one reason for selfish motive is people wanting to learn in the church. That's why they stay. They find value. But refusing to participate. How do you think this church runs? It runs by my preaching. How do you think these lights are on? Where else do you go get value and not give value in return? You love a preacher not to make merchandise of the people, that's good. But why will you therefore be selfish to what benefits you? Selfish motives, money, refusal to participate in the financial responsibility of the church, but there to learn, to learn. I told people, the truth you steal cannot help you, cannot work for you, because truth works with attitude, love. Once your attitude is wrong, be stealing it. The Bible you stole said thou shalt not steal. So it's a magazine in your hand. Number one is what? Selfish motives. Number one, money. Some people think they are too rich for it. Some people hide their source of income. They play down on it. They come, They'll be seeing that the AC is not working. When they came, certain things were set in place. The only way we will reach a larger number of people, you want to support the truth, the only way we reach a larger number of people is that the people who are already in the church, they are the resources of the church. It's a shame to be in a place repeatedly and not participate. Selfish motive. That's number one. Number two is what? Sex. Sex. You want to know how that operates? Say, how? The first is they have sinful compromises they don't want accountability for. And so they don't want to get close, because getting close is giving somebody right for accountability. Why are you sleeping around? Why are you stealing? Why are you not being like the brothers? So they stay away. Because they don't want accountability for their bad behavior. This is no longer the church's fault, you should know. This is the individual. We have people dropping responsibility because the accountability that goes with it. Sleeping around and singing in the choir. Shame on you. And those people, they mask it. You see, when you talk about the church problem, everybody hails. I like the way you're cold. I'm hitting you on your knuckles. That's good. Gambari Fulani. Sin makes people not participate because they don't want accountability. Number three, pride. Some people think they are too big to associate with these kinds of people. Pride. They come into a place when they are true. Okay. They go out and drive their car. They think they are too big. I said the church is a community. Is a community. You know how God proves or shows us humility? In our family, we don't choose the character of the people in there. If you can only associate with a certain class of people, you're proud. You're a proud person. Who do you think you are? That people to church, they feel like, this church, they don't understand me. When I was in Evangelical Church of Yahweh, I used to be an apostle. They are not spiritual yet. Some of their pride is coming from their money. Some is coming from their knowledge. Some is coming from their social standing. They think they are bigger than the body. Told you, whatever is not in the cell is not in the body. You should not have been born again because there are some poor people saved. Because you are joining the body. Do you understand? You should not have been born again because there are some sick people saved. There are some uneducated people saved. There are some rude people saved. Unlike the way they talk to me in the church. Some people, their problem in this church is my character. Just talk as you like. Then they complain like this and you see them still remaining. They want to get my knowledge. They don't like my attitude. They are proud. They are selfish. They find value in the message. But they refuse to be a part of the body and they find justification in blaming somebody else. So let me talk to the insiders. Now you know who the outsiders are. The outsiders are the visitors of the church. Some have overstayed their welcome. How can you be a friend? You are close to me. We have spent 2 years. We have not become close. You are avoiding me. You are avoiding accountability. You are avoiding financial responsibility. You are avoiding your pride. There's a reason that people pull back. You have to investigate your spirit. The problem I have is you are still here, which means it's not the church pressure financially. Because if it was, you would have left. If there was a useless message here and there's a useless attitude, you will be gone. The fact you could stay means you score the point that it's not the church attitude. It's your attitude. Jesus is the equalizer. He has no professor. He has no wealthy person. All he has is sons and daughters. You find people in this church. They can sit down and talk about everything wrong with the system, but they will not participate. One lady, particularly in this church, once we just have any meeting, she'll say, look, the fellowship, what I don't like about the fellowship is that it's not inspiring. You will not inspire. It's not inspiring. So look, one even told me that I have been meeting with other believers, is to inspire my faith. The person who is leading that community, this person has stayed in this church longer than that person. How come you have not seen yourself as the answer to that problem? When I go to a place, there's no church. Church has come because I came. Because Christ's investment in me is the answer to that problem. One say I don't find a way I fit into this category. I say, you are the category. You are the category. But because you believe that you are living a selfish, it's for you. You want to serve God at your convenience. The one that I'm tired of is the one that is also broke and proud. You should have been one. You should have been one. If you want to be broke and be humble. If you want to be proud and have money. To be broke and proud, shame on you. You know what that means? When you quit, people heave a sigh of relief because they don't miss nothing. They miss nothing. So let me begin to close the insiders. Again, I said the structure, the system, the organ, the tissue, and the cell. So let's start from the cell. The cell in this church is the life group. If you are not in the life group, you are not an insider. And if you are here for the first 1-2 months, you are a visitor. If you have been here 6 months, you are the one I want to use the excretory system for now. Purge out. Because God is smart. He knows how to get things out. That's the excretory system. Get things out. He is the master pruner. The tissue, therefore, is our cluster group. The cluster group is when a few life groups come together to engage and do something. It's a tissue. The organ, therefore, is our communities. The community is a bunch of tissues. The system, therefore, is the fellowship. We have the fellowship system, the discipleship system, the mission system. And then the structure, therefore, is the whole church. I superintend the structure. The directors superintend the systems. If you can't find yourself here, you are an outsider. Long-term visitor. There are people who see me, look, I'm not an intelligent person. I'm a man of God. Pastoring is the spiritual load on my head. If that woman tells me to stop pastoring, I have a divorce. So you can come and say, I like that pastor, smart, I like his. I'm looking at you like you are relating with the wrong person. You think I'm the guy who says the things you like. I'm a spiritual man. I will cut lines with anybody over this assignment. If you stay for the second service, it's not this I'm teaching, something else on leadership. But you'll be blessed. How do you deal with selfishness? Because we have talked about how to deal with a church. If you deal with a church that has bad experience, don't change it. Quit. Why? The power is not in your hand. If the church does not have bad experience, check your selfish motive. Change. So you have two options. Quit or change. If you come into this place and you find out that this is the place where the pastor and the culture here oppresses people, putting their hands into their pocket to get money, giving them financial target, people don't have life group. You say they should bring offering. You are a thief. Giving people unusual targets that are not human. You can't tell a 2-year-old baby to be 5 years in the next 6 months. If you don't have that experience here, and I don't have that experience, that's the things I hate in church. You don't have that monetary pressure. Nobody's harassing you sexually. That person will deal with me if he's in this church. They know. One of the cares people take around me is that I don't cater to your feelings. You will be embarrassed. You don't have sexual harassment here. It's not a culture. Plus that, you don't have anybody psychologically oppressing you. I meet you here as a person. When I meet you, my name is O'Neill. That's what I tell you. I tone it down. I met a lady at the mall. Ada, she said, sit down. All these want to hype the life out of me with you. I said, don't mind Ovisu. I'm not that person. You see? So we sat down. She said, no, you are. I've seen your videos. Because there's no hairs. Wear one small cap and walk like this. You will soon vanish. You are avatar. Be a person. When they were going to worship the disciples, he said, we are men like you. We're men like you. Be a person. Preach the word in season, out of season. If you have not had that experience, check yourself. If you will not accept checking yourself, we'll check you. There's an excretory system. Purge you.